Are they good or bad for the black community? Now, before I start this, I would like to say that my own personal opinion is um, it's irrelevant right now. The things that I am basing this topic off of is things that are public record, public documents, things that you can look up, Google for yourself, and they're right there. And this will give you a scope of the influence of the mothers of our rappers. And I would like to also say that a lot of these rappers' moms are so needed and so highly esteemed as they should be. And this is great for a lot of our community to see the woman being esteemed and honored is something that was taken away for a, a long time in not only in hip hop but just in the black narrative period. And so being that the black woman has been objectified in so many different ways of exploitation, it's good to see these young men honoring their mothers, and that is a good look for us. And so I support that 1000%. So let me say that. And as we go into breaking down what I mean by rappers' moms, are they good or bad for the black community? I was doing a search, and you go in the search engine, and you can pretty much before you type in everything, it starts to give you suggestions. And so I began to type in rappers' moms, and it gave me a long laundry list of topics on rappers and their mothers, their relationship with their mothers, who their mothers were, and all of these different stories. Cool. Okay, bet. So I typed in rappers' dads. And when I typed in rappers' dads, what popped up was rappers who were considered good fathers. And then I had to be more specific in my wording. And so I typed in rappers with dads. And then it popped up rap father and son duos. It's like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I was like, rappers with relationships with their fathers. And then, Drake popped up with his dad. And we know that he reconnected with his dad after a strained relationship. Same thing with Offset. Same thing with a couple other rappers. And, so I started to kind of look at it. I was like, well, now I'm interested in seeing what is out there in the world as far as relationships between rappers and their fathers, because the list was very short and it was very brief. You had like XX Tentacion, he had his father in his life. We see that Lil Durk reconnected with his dad. Now, I didn't know that Killer Mike dad was a cop. You know what I'm saying? He had a good relationship with his dad. And Kendrick Lamar, his most recent album, he addressed the issue. Now, Kendrick, over the years through his albums, he's talked about his father and things that his father has instilled in him. But in this song that he did on his most recent album, the song's called Father Time. He really broke it down and he really dissected the daddy issues that a lot of us as men carry. And this affects your life in every way, and he was demonstrating how it affected his rap career and his relationships with people in the industry. So shout out to that brother for breaking that down so dope, the way that only Kendrick can do, man. But he broke it down and it gave us the insight as to the imbalance that most of our rappers have, because most of our rappers are predominantly raised by their mothers. And, so that brought me into the subject of, well, if we look at the state of rap right now, and most of these young men were predominantly raised by their mothers. Now, I'm not saying that it's the mother's fault that a lot of these guys went in certain routes, because you have some rappers who are doing great positive things, but I'm I'm talking specifically about the drill rap genre, because the drill rap genre, we've discussed this before, is just basically worshiping, praising death and destruction. And so when we look at the mothers of these rappers, we see as these young men lose their lives in the streets, lose their lives to their ops and stuff like that. We have the mothers who will come out and speak, and they'll give a cry for the violence to stop, the gun violence in the streets to stop. And spearheading this, we have Mother Duck. Shout out to Mother Duck. That's the mother of FBG Duck, who was a premier drill rapper out of Chicago, and he was slain. Um, and she began to come out and speak about, the things that were going on in Chicago and the area that she lived. And so, she reached a lot of people, and she garnered a lot of attention because of what she represented, where she was from, and who her son was, and his reputation in the streets. And there was recently a situation that took place where Mama Duck was in the club, and they started shooting up the club, and she had to go and hide, to get away from the violence and the gun violence that was in the club. And I'm like, first of all, Mama Duck, you don't stay. Please stay home, Mama Duck. Stay out of the clubs. From one brother to a sister. Please stay out of the clubs. I understand you want to stay connected to the people and the young people and the youth and stuff like that, but connect with them in an atmosphere and an environment to where you actually be able to talk to them and they actually be able to hear you speak. You can't do that in a club environment. In a club environment, all you're going to hear is the music and people trying to talk to each other over the music. And, that's not a productive environment to connect with the youth. I've been there before. I've done that before, and it just don't work. But I understand where you're coming from, Mama Duck. That's not a knock or nothing. I'm just trying to give some words of advice to a queen. But you know, these mindsets and these ideas, though, we have to look back on Tupac and Biggie Mom. You have Afeni Shakur. You have Valletta Wallace. These two women gave birth to these two men who at some point in their life were friends, and then they grew to a point to where they began to speak death and wish death over each other. And these two women looked across at each other and saw a woman who gave birth to somebody who spoke death on their child. And they were able to push past that and come together in solidarity to show, not only to just speak, but to demonstrate solidarity, forgiveness, love, and unity in the black community. That's what those two ladies did. They didn't go to the club to do it, they didn't have to. And they did it on the world stage, and it was well received. And that whole East Coast, West Coast thing was done. And so when I think of the black mothers in rap, from an earlier era, I see how vital they were in the lives of these artists that we hold in such high esteem. Had it not been for the fact of Afeni Shakur still holding herself and her children to a standard, even though she battled with her own addiction and issues, we would not have had the most impactful artist ever in Tupac Shakur. He even said it in the song, even as a crack fiend mama, you always was a black queen mama. And that hit right there because I've seen a lot of those women in the projects. They had their addictions, they had their vices, but they still maintained order in their home. They still held their children to a standard. And then they went and handled their business and did what they did, but they made sure that their household was in order. And so you fast forward to now and you have these children who are product of the same type of environment, the same situation, and they just murder and murder and murder because that's what they feel like is going to gain them respect in the streets. And so, what is it to gain respect if you're only going to perish at the hands of somebody who ultimately didn't respect you at all anyway? Um, it's a tough battle, but I feel like the mothers who are stepping up, like Mother Duck and um, King Von's mom, has spoken out. We've heard from a lot of these mothers now who are beginning to understand that they have an opportunity now and they have a platform to really have their voice be heard, because a lot of times we're not listening to nothing but the songs that their sons put out. But after their sons are gone and after their sons have lost their lives out here to the stuff that they've been rapping about and promoting and glorifying, after all the smoke clears, we're going to be listening for mama just like they was. Because all of these dudes out here that was big and bad and shooters and it was on demon time and all of this stuff, whenever something happened, the first person they thought about was mama. The first name that they called out was mama. And if they felt like they was about to leave this earth, tell my babies and my mama I love them. And so mama is always going to be the one that they look to when everything go down and the smoke clear and the dust settles. They're going to be looking for mama. They're going to be looking for a word from mama. And so mama got to be on her game. And us as the men who are definitely making an impact, and we are definitely changing the narrative of being in our children's lives, not just being in their lives, but being actively in their lives. I salute to you because Kendrick said it best in that song that I was referring to earlier. He said it's time to give the mothers a break. Father Time. There's dual meanings in that title. He mean it in the sense of man, Father Time, he's so wise, he's so old, and as these times grow on, the things that Father has taught us, the wisdom that he imparted in us, will never leave us, and we begin to see it more in a sense of reality as we grow older and we engage these experiences that Dad was telling us about. And then it's saying Father Time in the sense of, like I said before, it's time to get the mamas a break. It's Father Time. It's time for the fathers to step into those roles. It's time for the fathers to impart those things in their children and take that time out. It's Father Time. So I can understand the dual meaning in that, and I appreciate when artists take the time to do things like that and give us those messages, because he's exactly and absolutely right. It's Father Time. Mothers, we love the job that you've done. We would never speak against the job that you've done. We know that you work hard and you've done the best that you can. We've seen it. We seen it in our mamas. We seen it in other people's mamas who was our mamas too. Cause every single one of my homeboys coming up, they mama was my mama. She didn't treat me like no outsider. She didn't treat me like the kid from down the street. No, she treated me just like she treated her sons and daughters. Those mamas. And so we have to have the mamas, and we have to have the mamas in our communities. The mamas have always been the vital part of the structure in the household. Let's get that understood, because she is the canal, she is the vessel that life comes from. So she is always going to be center stage. Let's get that clear right now. But men, knowing who she is and what she means to the vitality of our nation and our civilization, we are responsible for protecting that by all costs. And we've gotten away from that. We lost that at some point because of the way that things have been structured over time. Man's flawed ideology that is just cast such a dark shadow over a lot of civilizations, nations, and communities in their quest for domination. We've suffered a whole lot of things. We've endured a whole lot of things, but we did not endure them for nothing. And so I'm just making a call to the black mothers. I'm making a call to the black fathers. Let's just take the fault away from each other. It's nobody's fault at this point. It's either nobody's fault or it's everybody's fault. But let's stop just trying to put it on one side more than the other. We see our government doing this constantly, and it does not work. It does not gain us anything. And I get sick and tired every morning that I wake up and I open up any social media platform, and the first thing is I see is somebody complaining about why men are not this and why men are not that, or why women are this and why women are that. I'm so sick of seeing them. So sick of seeing those posts. It really, really disheartens me, man, because we are not these things that we keep putting people in a box to be. Just because we make poor decisions on the people that we allow into our lives, we try to group them, everybody in together because we're frustrated, when our frustration is at our own self. But you got to be willing to admit that to yourself. And when you're able to fess up to your role in it, then you'll begin to lay off of that rhetoric, and you'll begin to quiet down with that rhetoric of man, women always, or man, men always. No, it's all of us. It's all inclusive. We all are humans. First and foremost, we all have the same human mistakes that we make. We all have the same human um, flaws. I'm not saying the exact same flaw, but we all have flaws, and we all deal with these things. And we all make mistakes, man. So we just have to get off of that mindset of pointing the finger back and forth at each other. I absolutely would not be here if it were not for black women. The black women in my life have done so much for me, and being that I came up the way that I have, you know, it was necessary for me to be end up being a well-rounded person. You know, having mom and dad is crucial. It's very vital to the balance in a person. And you can tell most of the times when a person has had a healthy relationship with both of their parents. You can see the balance in that person. You can see the stability in that person. And so we have a lot of unbalanced people out here. A lot of these rappers, they rely on their mothers for everything, but they're still in unbalance because there's that father role missing. There's that positive male image and impression missing. And so they can only give you so much. They can only show you so much because they're imbalanced and they're not complete. And so we have to work on completion. Now, having a relationship with your biological father is great and it's the most wonderful thing. But there are a lot of surrogate fathers out here. There are a lot of fathers out here who are willing to step into that role and be that male figure that a lot of these guys need, man. And there's a lot of guys who want that and need that, know they need that, but they just don't know how to express it or ask for it. And they think it make them look weak and it makes them look uh, codependent if they express the fact of needing a male figure in their life. But we gotta normalize the male figure being in the lives of all children, not just male children, male and female alike, because all children needs balance. And so to answer the question that was posed in the very beginning, rappers' moms, are they good or bad for the black community? See, they're always going to be vital and necessary for the black community, but they just have to understand the power that they hold in their tongue and in their actions. And they're going to have to walk according to that because that's a heavy responsibility that's been placed on them. I remember how it used to be when you had the moms of all of the athletes, basketball moms and the football players' moms and all of that stuff like that. Well, rappers' moms are becoming the new football or basketball moms. Pretty soon they're gonna have the you know rappers' wives. It's, you got basketball wives and stuff like that. Pretty soon they're gonna have rappers' wives. Shows about the life of a rapper who a rapper's wife and their relationship and their long-term marriages. This is something that I definitely would love to see because it's going to promote longevity in relationships, stability in relationships. It's going to promote marriage, um, if that's what they choose to focus on, unless they choose to focus on the toxic stuff. But, that's neither here nor there. It's still putting the narrative forth. So, that's all I really wanted to speak on, man. Shout out to all of the mothers that were named and the mothers who I have not named. Well, charge it to my head, not my heart. And let's get out here and uplift these mothers, brothers. You know, every woman you come in contact with just about is a mother. You know what I'm saying? And she has a major responsibility on her shoulders if the father is not there. Now she has twice the amount of responsibility. And so the way that we treat this woman in public around these children is going to shape how they think of their mother and how they think of women. So just think about that before you address a queen today. How you going to speak to that queen? How would you want somebody to speak to your queen or speak to your mama in your presence? Just think on that, man, and it may just change the tone that you have when you speak to a lady. This is your boy D Mac, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.